Sync that audio, yeah! Hi guys, I'm Megan, and welcome to another episode of There I Read It, where I'm going over the Harry Potter books for the first time in my life. And if you have been following along every week, then you know that right now we're going over Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban Chapter 5. And this one is Dementors, and they are kind of freaky-deaky, aren't they? I'm just gonna jump straight into my notes here, and we will talk about this chapter as we get through it. Okay, the first thing that really jumped out at me is that all of the creatures that are going to Hogwarts, like Hedwig and Crookshanks and all of them, have to be put in a cage or a basket or some kind of container, except for Ron's rat Scabbers, who for some reason does not have to be secured and just sits in Ron's pocket. Now, is that because a rat can fit in a pocket comfortably and a cat might be a lot larger of a creature taking up more space, or an owl might fly around everywhere? I don't know what the actual excuse is, but I just know there is something about that rat that I have never liked since the beginning, because rats are not on the approved list of creatures at Hogwarts! For that matter, neither are tarantulas, which I know are mentioned in the first book at the train stop as well. But I don't know, I feel like a tarantula might be part of a spell, like, you know, Eye of Newt, Toe of Tarantula. So I don't know that the tarantula was actually a pet or a familiar or whatever these things are supposed to be. But poor Hedwig and Crookshanks are put with the luggage like they're animals. They don't even let you send animals on planes that way anymore. Man, I can remember back 10 years ago when you could put a dog on a plane by itself, they would put it in the cargo hold, and then fly it wherever you wanted it to go. And that's actually how I got several of my dogs and cats. I know this is a weird offshoot tangent, but we've been looking for a dog for a while now, and it's kind of been a shock that, hey, you can't fly animals anymore like you used to. So the kind of dog that we want, that we think would be a good service dog to train for my son with special needs, is not an easy dog to get locally. But I guess my point is, considering that regular animals can't go in cargo holds anymore, then poor Hedwig and Crookshanks should not have that same fate. Although, I guess to be absolutely fair, I've never really ridden a train. They're not really part of Americana culture at all. So where I'm envisioning them putting animals underneath the train like they would on a plane, I don't know, maybe they take the animals here to a separate train car? I don't know the logistics here. I don't know how trains work, but somebody will know and get in the comments and better inform me. Anyways, before the kids get on the train, Arthur takes Harry aside and he's like, listen, I want you to know. And Harry's like, no, it's fine. I already know. I heard you and Molly talking. I'm not scared. It's good. And of course, if you didn't tune in for the last episode, that back and forth with Molly and Arthur was about Sirius Black wanting Harry. So Arthur's just like, okay, that's wild. But just promise me that you won't go looking for Black. And something that made me really curious is how the Ministry of Magic kind of pulled up at the Leaky Cauldron and took everybody to King's Cross. However, it's confusing to me, because if they are that worried about Harry's safety, why put him on the Hogwarts Express at all? Why not put him on a private train or just drive him straight there? We know that the Hogwarts Express is not the one and only way to get to Hogwarts. It's not like it has magical entry, it just goes to Hogsmeade. And the train doesn't get like a magical tunnel because the car in the last book flew straight to Hogwarts. So yeah, I'm having trouble processing why the Ministry doesn't just take Harry directly to school. But then, because Arthur and Harry are kind of chatting it up a bit too much, Harry almost misses the train and they have trouble finding an empty cart to get in. I think they call them compartments, the little individualized, I don't know, trains are weird. I don't understand them. But the point is, the kids can't find a place to sit, and then eventually they do, but somebody is already asleep on the train, and he's a very tattery looking man. And Harry's going, I thought only students could get on the Hogwarts Express. And Hermione's like, look at his suitcase. That says Professor R.J. Lupin. He must be our new Defense Against the Dark Arts professor. And of course, somehow Hermione never guesses wrong, so that's exactly who he turns out to be. And then they hear this weird kind of whistling noise, and when they investigate, it turns out that the sneakoscope is going off and it's glowing red, and they don't know what to do or how to shut it up, so they end up shoving it in one of Vernon's socks. And I understand the point of referencing Vernon's socks is to show that they're both disgusting and that Harry gets these nasty hand-me-downs, but again, again, Harry is rich. The boy can afford himself a new pair of socks, right? I mean, shoot, Molly Weasley is always knitting something. She can't knit him socks? I'm just saying, I understand the detail, but it's a weird detail and almost an inexplicably lazy detail. I mean, at this point, Harry is 13. The Dursleys don't even talk to him or acknowledge him if they don't have to. So this whole thing of, yeah, I'm wearing 10-year-old socks is kind of stupid and ludicrous. And I'm speaking as someone who is accepting that this is a book about magic. Anyways, Hermione starts talking about how they're gonna get to go to Hogsmeade this year, and she's so excited because it's the only non-Muggle settlement in Britain. And I know that they've explained before that when you're at the Burrows, which is the Weasley house, and you go up on the hill, you can see, like, Normieville. But again, it's one of those things like, well, okay, if the Muggle population and the wizard population are really that intertwined, then how are the magical people so ignorant to everything about Muggles? Like, why did the Daily Prophet have to explain what a gun was a few chapters ago? If y'all live together, you know what things are. Don't play stupid. And then the book is describing Crookshanks in the compartment with Hermione, and I just feel like, how? I thought I had a good mental handle on what this train was like from the first book, but now I'm just kind of seeing that I have no idea what I'm trying to picture here. And I've been on the Hogwarts Express in Universal, so I have a picture of what compartments are, but comprehending the storage system on the train is just completely eluding me. Because yeah, they also say that Lupin's trunk is above him. So there's got to be bars up there that's holding their stuff, but then why did it say that Arthur put the stuff in the luggage hold? I don't understand. I am so confused. But anyhow, the trio are just kind of minding their own business, chatting about things, and in walk Malfoy with his two goons, which they finally give their first names, Vincent Crabbe and Gregory Goyle, and they, quote, seemed to exist to do Malfoy's bidding. And my response to that is just, write better then. You're the one writing them. If you have to write that, well, these characters are only two-dimensional and don't do anything besides Malfoy's bidding, then that seems like you're doing a really poor job of creating these characters. Characters don't have to be just filler to make up the seats or so that the bad guy has henchmen. I mean, they can have their own stories. And now that's what I want more than anything, is to know more of the backstory of Vincent and Gregory. But the train stops and Ron's like, oh, thank goodness we're here. I've been starving. I'm so ready to get to this feast. And Hermione's like, according to my watch, we are not at Hogwarts yet. And then Lupin wakes up. Oddly, nothing else had woken him up, but now that it's dark, he's suddenly springing to life. So, with the name of Lupin, I'm gonna make some assumptions that he's got some wolfiness to him that's to come. But it is pretty dark in the train. Neville comes into their compartment, falls down. Ginny ends up in there too. And then these huge cloaked figures show up, and one of them accidentally shows an arm, and its skin looks like something dead that decayed in water. So they're really pretty freaky, and they're huge. They go all the way to the top of the train, which again, I have no sense of this train, but I'm imagining that's at least 7, 8, 9 feet tall. And Harry ends up fainting. He's twitching, he hears invisible screams, and the other symptoms he has really seem to relate to a panic attack. And Lupin shoos the thing away, and he starts handing out chocolate going, you know, this'll help, eat this is gonna help. But Lupin's like, I gotta go for just a minute, and he ended up taking off to write a message and send an owl ahead to Hogwarts to let them know that Harry fainted. I hope there ends up being more to that story though, because that seems a little bit rude. Just, hey, this kid fainted. Let everybody know. Let all the teachers know that he's a little weakling. And when Lupin comes back, he refers to Harry by his first name, even though Harry is positive he never introduced himself. But of course, Harry is one of the most recognizable people in the wizarding world, so that's not too crazy. And then Lupin is also explaining what Dementors are, and that they are the guardians of Azkaban. They're the prison guards. But then about 10 minutes later, the train actually gets to Hogsmeade, and it turns out that I was correct in my assumption mentioned before that only first-year students get on the boats. The rest get on coaches that are drawn by invisible horses. And the gate of Hogwarts, this is the first time we're ever seeing it, it has flying pig statues, which I thought was kind of a cute touch. And on each side of the gate, there are Dementors standing guard. Apparently they're at every entrance to Hogwarts too. And while all the 2nd through 7th year students are sort of pushing their way into Hogwarts, McGonagall shows up and she's like, "Potter, Granger, get over here!" And they're just like, "Oh my gosh, how are we in trouble before school even started?" And my girl Minerva's just like, "Hey, I just want to talk to you guys in my office. Come on, don't look so worried. It's not like I'm a stern teacher or anything. What?" And McGonagall was out there on the ready because the owl that Lupin sent went to her. So she was aware that Harry had had this really bad reaction to the Dementors, and so almost as soon as they sit down, Madame Pomfrey comes in, who is the nurse, and she's prescribing chocolate. And when Harry explains that Professor Lupin had already given them some chocolate, Madame Pomfrey's like, "Oh my goodness, do we finally have a Defense Against the Dark Arts teacher who knows what the dark arts are?" And Madame Pomfrey's first name is Poppy, and that is adorable, and I love it. But she is really hovering around Harry like, "Oh, you poor weak delicate thing," and Harry's getting really annoyed by all of this. But eventually he passes scrutiny and McGonagall lets him leave, but she's like, "Hold on, Miss Granger, stay here. I want to talk to you about your," what's the word she used? Timetable. So Harry waits for her out in the hall, and when Hermione comes out, she's just looking like the cat who ate the canary. And when they get down to the feast, they start describing Albus Dumbledore, and they say, and I quote this directly from the book, "You couldn't help trusting Albus Dumbledore." And I feel like that's going to be another one of those Scooby-Doo things, because this book is constantly going, this person is this and that person is that. And then, surprise twist, they're actually the opposite, which is not that great of a writing trope to do. It's so very obvious, especially when you do it in every book over and over. So I have a feeling that Dumbledore is going to end up being not such a nice guy by the end of the series. I think he's going to be the biggest Scooby-Doo of all, because if I'm right, my guess is we're gonna have it, he is good guy in Sorcerer's Stone, he is good guy in Chamber of Secrets, he is good guy in Prisoner of Azkaban, he is good guy in Goblet of Fire, he is good guy in, what is the 5th book? Order of the Phoenix, he is good guy in Half-Blood Prince, he is bad guy in Deathly Hallows. And I know there are millions of people out there who already know the answer, but again, please do not leave me spoilers beyond where I have read at this point. But when Dumbledore starts talking to the students and explaining that the Dementors are everywhere and they're here to stay until Black is caught, he lets the students know that Dementors aren't fooled by tricks, disguises, or invisibility cloaks. So he is directly warning Harry not to try and sneak out of Hogwarts, because the Dementors ain't gonna care what his excuse is. Whatever these horrible, nasty, giant things are that suck the heat out of a room, they have no sense of humor and they don't care about your problems. They just care about their mission directives. So do not mess with the Dementors, Harry. Which of course means in the next 5 chapters or so, Harry's gonna go mess with the Dementors. Oh, and then we find out that Professor Kettleburn has retired from the care of magical creatures, and Dumbledore says something like, oh, he's decided to spend the rest of his life with the rest of his limbs, or something like that, very much implying that the magical creature professor is in a lot of danger and loses a lot of bits. But his replacement is Hagrid, who is finally allowed to do more at Hogwarts because, if you care to remember, in the Chamber of Secrets, they finally cleared his name that he wasn't the one that killed that student way back when. And then the kids all go up to their dorms, and the new Gryffindor password is Fortuna Major. And that's all the notes I have. Honestly, this chapter has a lot of oddities going on between, the mysteriousness of Professor Lupin and the horrificness of the Dementors and the carriages that pull themselves and all these weird things going on that we have not yet seen before before directly, so I'm curious to see where it goes, but this chapter also had so many things that they point blank directly told us, and I'm sure that's gonna blow up down the line. It seems like they only introduce things in these books that are gonna be directly relevant to the plot, and I don't know, I don't like that because I think that hurts the integrity of the story. Like I said in Chamber of Secrets when we got to see Fawkes and how, oh, the exact 3 qualities that a phoenix possesses are the exact 3 qualities that Harry needs to win right now. And I think that would have been better if a phoenix had like 10 qualities or, you know, this whole laundry list of qualities, and these 3 things turned out to be useful. But yeah, basically, I know at this point, anything that is mentioned, pretty much the opposite is going to happen, or anything that is described to us as boring or not notable is going to end up being an issue later. But we'll see. I guess I will see you guys soon as I move on to chapter 6. Thanks for watching, everybody. Don't forget to subscribe and check back every week for a new video, and we will see you next time, family members. Bye! Well, family members, we're almost done, but I want to invite you to hang out with me in some other places. I'm on Twitter and Instagram as my own personal self, and I have a Facebook page too, but I mostly just post photos over there. And sometimes people say, "Hey McGann, I want to mail you something. How do I do that?" Easy. Just click the About tab on my channel page, and my most current P.O. Box info will be right there. I also run another channel, The Fanily. It's really a hodgepodge channel where we might post anything. Oh yeah, and I also sell shirts and stickers and stuff with the Fanily and the Fangirl logos. If that is your cup of tea, I have a link in every description of every video. Finally, if you want to help out the Fangirl channel and make sure I'm putting out video essays for years to come, the best way you can help is by subscribing and watching more of my videos, whether they're new, old, whatever. Maybe even share 1 or 2 on social media, help spread the word. People who watch to the end of videos, like you, helps to tell the site, hey, this is a good video, we should recommend it to other people. So if you made it this far, leave me a comment of something like, hey, I made it to the end. Love ya. See you next time, family members. Bye.